More than 4.5 years have passed since the town of Manchester approved a plan for the redevelopment of the Manchester Shopping Center Plaza off of Depot Street shortly before Christmas of 2014. An Act 250 permit application was filed shortly afterwards, and a permit eventually issued in February of 2016. But all was not yet over. The Act 250 permit required an amended approval from the town and was obtained last December. Plans to mitigate flood hazard concerns and floodproofing the buildings were one concern. The developer, Crosspoint Associates, arrived at a plan that won town approval with a redesigned facade on the grocery store structure in December of 2018. But that has not led to a follow-up approval from the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation's Rivers Program, which is charged with protecting and restoring natural river and floodplain processes to enhance water quality, ecological health, and flood resilience. The proximity of the west branch of the Battenkill, which flows past the western side of the plaza, brings this project into their purview. According to town officials, the Rivers Program staff has asked for 4 extensions to review the revised project between last December and early February, only to conclude information submitted so far was insufficient for them to provide review. And since then, there's been no further movement on the permit. Town Manager John O'Keefe explained where things stood at the moment.
There's been some permitting back and forth at the state level. The town permits went through, and right now it's kind of stuck in Act 250. We're working closely with the project proponents, Crosspoint, and the State Agency of Natural Resources. We're trying to broker a solution that works for the project developer and for the state. Right now, we're just sort of working between those two groups. It is an important project for the community. It's a streetscape element, and also, the addition of a second grocery store in town. Is pretty important to the area and to the Manchester community. It comes down to floodproofing the building. There's some floodproofing issues. The challenge that we have is actually any idea of renovating the current plaza actually environmentally is not as good of a plan based on where the pavement is and the propane tanks and other things like that. The new layout, river-wise, I think is a much stronger plan. So even when it comes to river management, I see the benefits of the new project versus maintaining the old plaza.
Plans submitted at Town Hall call for the existing V-shaped structure to be reconfigured. The wing of the building where the art gallery start space is located and extending down to where the Olympia Sports Shop used to be will remain as is. But the other wing, extending from the present Price Chopper supermarket to the Village Cinema, would be torn down, and a new building with a larger footprint, extending into the area behind the existing building, would be constructed. The building that used to house a bowling alley years ago would be demolished and torn down. A retaining wall would be constructed into the slope of the hill behind the existing structure. Billy Coster, of the state's Agency of Natural Resources, of which the Department of Environmental Conservation is a part, explained where things stood from their perspective.
Well, first I'd like to say that, our agency is supportive of the project. We think, in speaking with the town, this is something that's important to the community, so we want to certainly help move the process forward. What is currently holding things up is the fact that we believe for the Act 250 process to move forward, the project needs to provide detailed design plans to show how the building will be flood-proofed from floodwaters. And this is part of the review that Act 250 does under their floodways criteria 1D, and it's intended to both protect environmental impacts associated with flooding and public safety, the costs of insurance and public investment in buildings after they're flooded, and a whole suite of different values. And in this case, and as with others, when buildings are located within the FEMA floodplain, there's an expectation that those buildings will be flood-proofed, basically designed and built in a way that if floods come, they can be sealed up from the outside to try to keep the interiors of the buildings dry. And in this case, the project's consultants has done an analysis of that floodproofing, but the project has yet to provide a written set of design plans or an affirmative commitment of which of the options their consultant has identified they will actually implement for the project. So at this point, we really just need them to take that menu of options that their consultant has developed, commit to pursuing certain of those options and then draw up a set of plans, design plans that we can review to make sure that the options they've chosen are actually feasible for their project design. So it's somewhat a formality, but it's an important one. We want to make sure that the strategies that they've pursued to address floodproofing are ones that can actually work at the building, work at the site. So to move this forward, we had a good conversation with folks from the town yesterday. We're going to reach out to the project development team, and we hope that we can walk them through specifically how to bring that analysis of floodproofing strategies forward to an implementable set of design plans. We think that's a relatively straightforward task. My sense is that there may have been some miscommunication or some confusion amongst our staff, the project, the town, that's led to a little bit of this bottleneck. And our hope is once we start talking directly, we can resolve it quickly and get the project moving again.
Kerry McCormick of Crosspoint Associates, the developers of the project, said in an email that, quote, "It would have been helpful to have been allowed some interim level of building detail to allow the permits to be issued subject to additional floodproof design. That would have allowed us to have signed the lease with the grocer and move forward with the remaining design details for their input," unquote. He added later in a subsequent email that because of the delays, we've had to look at alternative options to the redevelopment. At the moment, there is apparently no signed lease with a grocer amid the uncertainty over the final floodproofing plans. According to the minutes from the Manchester Development Review Board's meeting on December 5, 2018, McCormick, who was present at the meeting, shared plans for a revised design of the building's facade and said he hoped to get construction started in April 2019. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.